At first glance, this looks like your typical, quiet American town. Quaint streets, charming homes, a picturesque waterfront. A place where families grow, businesses thrive, and neighbors, well, they look out for one another. But beneath the surface, behind the neatly painted storefronts and well-manicured lawns, lies something far more sinister. A deep underbelly of corruption, where power isn't earned, it's seized. Where justice isn't blind, it's bought. And where those who dare to stand against the system are met with retaliation, deception, and destruction. Here, backroom deals aren't just rumors. They're the foundation on which this town operates. Officials protect criminals, and criminals protect officials. Those in charge play by their own rules, rewriting laws to serve their own interests, while silencing anyone who dares to challenge them. For decades, the people of Babylon have been forced to look the other way, but the truth is no longer hidden. The corruption that has festered behind closed doors is now being dragged into the light, and once it's exposed, there's no going back. Welcome to the Babylon Betrayal. This isn't just a story about one man's fight against corruption. It's a warning, a cautionary tale about what happens when those in power believe they are untouchable, and when the system that's supposed to protect the people turns against them instead. This is the story of Austin Kidd, a man who did everything by the book, followed every rule, and still found himself caught in the crosshairs of a corrupt local government hell-bent on protecting itself at all costs. Let's start at the beginning. The American dream, owning a home, building a future, creating something that lasts. That's what Austin set out to do when he bought a piece of land in Babylon Village, New York. What he didn't know was that this wasn't just any small town. Beneath the surface, Babylon Village had been rotting from the inside, a stronghold of backroom deals, inside favors, and corruption so deep that the only way out was through total destruction. But Austin didn't know that yet. What he knew was this. He had a vision, and he had a plan. He hired a contractor, the plans were approved, the inspections were scheduled. And with each milestone, Austin was given the same confirmation. Your home is safe. Your home is structurally sound. Your home is good to go. The foundation, faulty. The structure, unstable. The home that was supposed to be a sanctuary was now a death trap. And when Austin asked how this could ever happen, how a home could pass 8 inspections and still be a disaster waiting to happen, that's when the lies began. Babylon Village wasn't just negligent, they were complicit. They weren't just bad at their jobs. They were covering for someone, and the deeper Austin dug, the uglier the truth became. Because this wasn't about one bad inspection, it wasn't even about one corrupt official. This was about an entire system working together to silence one man, protect their own, and make sure the truth never saw the light of day. But the truth has a funny way of coming out. And once Austin started asking questions, Babylon's biggest secrets started to unravel. This is where the story begins. But trust me when I say, this is just the beginning.
The owner of 167 Araka Road, Mr. Austin Kidd, has made a claim against the village, for $350,000. On the advice of legal counsel, neither myself nor the Board of Trustees will answer any questions or make any statements.
Now, every scandal has its starting point. And in Austin Kidd's case, it all began with BRJ Contracting. On paper, they were just another construction company, but behind closed doors, they were part of something much bigger. This is Joe Panola, head of BRJ Contracting, the company handpicked to build Austin's home. But here's where things get interesting. Joe Panola wasn't just some random contractor. He was deeply connected to Babylon Village officials. Now meet Steve Feldman, Babylon Village's building inspector. His job to make sure construction projects are up to code, safe, and structurally sound. His actual role, protecting the village's interests and covering up their mistakes. And at the top of it all, Mayor Mary Adams, the woman who knew everything and made sure nothing got in the way of Babylon's carefully controlled system. What did these three have in common? A hidden agenda that was about to destroy one man's life. The home Austin paid for was supposed to be built by the book, every step of the way. It was inspected and signed off by Steve Feldman himself. But those inspections, they were a lie, a cover-up to keep BRJ contracting shoddy work hidden. 8 times, 8 inspections, all passed, and yet this home was built on a faulty foundation, riddled with structural failures that should have been caught on day one, but they weren't, because catching them would have meant exposing the village's dirty game. And here's the real kicker. This wasn't just negligence, this was deliberate. Because the more Austin pushed for answers, the clearer it became. This house was never meant to stand. At this point, Austin was starting to realize something wasn't right. He had a brand new home, passed inspection 8 times, and yet it wasn't safe to live in. So, like any rational person, he went to the Babylon Village Building Department to get the reports, the official documentation that should have explained how this was even possible. But instead of answers, Austin was given something else, a label, a designation that would follow him every step of the way as he fought for the truth. That label, threat and menace. We have audio evidence of Steve Feldman, the Babylon Village building inspector, outright refusing to release the reports, instead calling Austin a threat and a menace. Let's listen.
I need Steve Feldman, the building inspector.
Come right here.
Yeah, I need all of your documentation. Are the inspections?
No, you get nothing.
Why not?
Because you're a threat, you're a menace.
I'm a threat and a menace? How so? I'm trying to get the explanation for why you signed off on my property.
Think about that. A government official whose job is to ensure safety and transparency refuses to release public records about his own home to a homeowner. Not only that, but he was labeled a threat just for asking questions. This wasn't just negligence. This was the first strategic move to shut Austin down. Austin saw the corruption unfolding in real time. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a cover-up. And this was only the beginning. Austin Kidd had already been labeled a threat and a menace for simply asking for public records about his own home. He was refused his right to the inspection reports, and the building inspector, Steve Feldman, made it clear he was not getting them. But Austin wasn't about to back down. The next day, he walked back into the Babylon Village Building Department. This time, he wasn't just looking for answers, he was demanding them. But what happened next was straight out of a political thriller, except it wasn't fiction. It was a carefully orchestrated cover-up unfolding in real time. Austin knew what he saw. As he walked in, he watched Joe Panola, the contractor from BRJ Contracting, walk into the inspector's office. He wasn't mistaken. He saw the man clear as day. But when he asked the secretary about it, she denied Panola was even there. We have audio evidence of this outright lie. Let's listen.
Okay, but I asked them if that was my builder and why he was here. And they went and they said, that's not your builder. And they went back into some office and they came out with a piece of paper with a contractor on it with different license. And they said, this is who is.
No. There was another contractor here, like right either after you or before you, and he was dropping off paperwork. And I guess he looked, like from the pictures that I saw, he looked like your contractor.
Austin wasn't confused. He wasn't mistaken. He saw Panola go into the office with his own eyes. But the village had their story, and they were going to stick to it. So Austin pushed back. He told the secretary he just saw Panola walk in. And that's when the lie shifted. It wasn't him, she claimed. It was someone who looked like him. Austin had heard enough. He demanded to speak with Mayor Mary Adams, and when she finally entered the room, she did exactly what corrupt officials do when they're caught. She doubled down. She called Austin crazy. She forced the secretary to back up the lie that Panola was never in the building. But here's where things took an even more bizarre turn. We have audio evidence of the mayor claiming she didn't know what Joe Panola looks like. Let's listen.
You didn't know he was here?
No, I wouldn't know you're contracted for the hole in the wall.
Why didn't you go to the main front desk like everyone else?
Why was at the main front desk? I don't know. I was in here doing my work.
You said that you were looking over my plans when I called back to the village.
That's right, I was. Very, very closely.
With who?
That's none of your business.